So here's the deal, sometimes I get sent stuff and I review it. There's no money involved, I don't get paid anything, I don't have to say anything, I just give you an honest opinion of it. Is that cool with you? Is cool with me? Cool, cool, good, right. So the reason I'm doing this video is I got this in the post. It's a travel tripod. It's a K&F Concept T2524 travel tripod. It's quite lightweight. It weighs about 1.4 kilograms, falls down to about 43.5 centimeters long and extends to 155 centimeters high. This makes it quite easy for taking around. It's a lot lighter than my main tripod, which is over a kilogram heavier and a lot bigger. Central column has a hook which is very useful because you can take your heavy bag of lenses off and hang that on as you're out, and then it will give you extra stability by weighing down the tripod. Now this leg here can unscrew and it becomes a monopod. So you've got a ball head on this tripod and you've got this little degree thing here so you can see how many degrees you're turning it. You have 4 different spirit levels on here, which is great. And also the underside is clear, so when it's hanging upside down you can see them from underneath. This quick release plate has a turny thing on the bottom, so you don't need any kind of special equipment with you. This sits in here quite securely, which is nice. Now my only beef with this is it's not so much a quick release as an ejector seat. So this comes with a travelling case of surprisingly good quality, and it's actually really nice quality material, a good zip. Thumbs up for that. So this tripod will set you back about 74 Great British pounds, about 100 US dollars, about 85 euros. But a tripod can have all the features and do all the magical things in the world, but if it doesn't work as a tripod, then it is useless. And so we need to go out and test it in a real world environment. Come out to Greenwich, but the weather's taking a bit of a turn for the worse, so I might do this another day. I might try and take a picture of the Royal Observatory up there. Found a bit of shelter in this exit here, so I'm going to take a photo up there. It's on a really long exposure, so I can put the camera in bulb mode, and I'm using a cable release. So this wasn't the best angle, but it was somewhere I could shelter and get a shot up of the observatory. This was shot at f16 ISO 100 for 100 seconds. And if we zoom in, we can see a little bit of motion blur. Even though this was static on a tripod, I didn't touch it and I used a cable release. So I decided to try again. If nothing else, this is testing the weather resistance of the 6D. So this shot was shot at f16 again, at ISO 50 for 25 seconds, so not quite as long. But if we zoom in, there's still a little bit of motion blur. It's hard to see, but it is there. So in order to test this a little further, I decided to take a 4K time lapse and see if we could see any movement at all. So if you watch this, kind of looks fine, but then there, did you see it? Let's go back. So that trip really didn't go too well for that tripod. We're getting some motion blur. Maybe I was a bit too hard on it. Maybe as a little travel tripod I shouldn't be trying to do 100-second long exposures. Maybe that is too much for it. So I took it out again the following day when the weather was a bit better. Weather's a bit better today. I'm meant to be meeting some friends. I've parked up and I'm walking down the river. See if there's anything better I can get here. So this was a slightly calmer day. It was a mixture of sunshine and clouds. So this shot was taken at f22 for 6.9 seconds at ISO 50. If we look at this one, it's pretty perfect. There are no signs of movement at all. There's no motion blur. For a 7-second shot, seems fine. I took a few shots. This one was at 14 seconds, so pushing it a little bit further. f16 ISO 50. And again, the tripod has held up well here. And let's not forget that if I hadn't had a tripod with me that I could easily carry, I wouldn't have been able to take these exposures at all. So ultimately my verdict on the K&F TM2524 travel tripod is that on the bad side, it's not the world's greatest tripod. It's probably really not up to long exposures unless you're weighing it down with a sandbag or something like that. And if you have to take a sandbag around with you, then it's not very travel friendly. But maybe you could hang something else on the hook. Maybe you can hang your camera bag, a small child, whatever you can find. That might help you stabilize your shot a bit. But on the plus side, it's very, very light and it's quite inexpensive for what it is. So you can just stick it in your bag, you can go out, you can not really worry about it being there. And when you need a tripod for a sort of standard, portrait shot, like a wedding sort of group shot or something like that, or even just a long exposure of a few seconds, you have that option. So I wouldn't recommend this being the only tripod you own, because I think it will limit you in the kind of shots you can take, and it will frustrate you because it's not really as sturdy as a better quality one. But then it is a travel tripod, it's amazingly light, it's really nice to have, to be honest, and I would recommend it if you've already got a good tripod, because I think it will expand your abilities rather than limit them.